The waves were the only thing we could hear, crashing endlessly against the broken wreck of what used to be our ship. The night smelled of salt and despair. I remember holding her hand, not because I wanted to, but because the darkness between us felt heavier than the sea. And when she looked at me, eyes trembling, lips pale, she whispered the words that would change everything before we go deeper into this unforgettable journey of survival, love, and fate. If you're new here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Universe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. This story deserves to be felt, not just heard. My name is Ayan, and before that night, I believed I had control over life. A steady job, a predictable future, a plan for everything. But life doesn't ask for your permission before rewriting your destiny. We were on a marine research vessel, Aurora. I was the lead engineer, and she, Dr. Alina Rai, was a marine biologist whose brilliance often intimidated me. She wasn't loud or proud. She had that kind of quiet confidence that made people stop and listen. I remember our first argument was over an oxygen meter, and she ended it with a calm, deadly line, "Logic doesn't lose, Ayan, ego does." It was a week later that the storm came, uninvited, unmerciful. The sky tore open, the sea rose like a beast, and our ship crumbled against the fury of nature. I remember seeing Alina thrown across the deck, screaming my name, and the next thing, silence, water everywhere, my lungs burning, my world fading. When I woke up, there was sand beneath my hands and the faint sound of someone breathing near me. I turned my head. It was her, Alina, alive. Her hair tangled with salt and seaweed, her clothes torn, but her heartbeat strong. We were alive, but stranded. The island was a patch of wilderness, half paradise, half prison. The trees were tall, their leaves whispering in an unfamiliar tongue. Birds screeched in the distance, and the air carried a strange sweetness of ripe fruit and danger. We had no signal, no food, no tools, just the wreckage of the storm and each other. The first few days were a blur. Survival wasn't cinematic, it was cruel. Every drop of rain mattered. Every coconut was a treasure. We learned to make fire using glass shards from the shipwreck. We built a makeshift shelter using branches and our torn clothes. She handled the fire, I handled the traps. But what struck me most was her calm. Where I saw chaos, she saw order. She would whisper to herself while working, "Nature always gives what it takes away, Ayan. You just have to ask differently," argued often. About direction, about hope, about whether rescue would come. I wanted to build a raft, she wanted to wait. "You think you can outswim fate?" she asked one evening, staring at the dying fire. "I can try," I said. She smiled faintly. "Then I'll stay here, and be the fool who believes in tomorrow days turned into weeks." Hunger turned into rhythm. We learned to fish. We built a smoke signal. We even laughed, occasionally, at how the universe had chosen two completely opposite souls to survive together. But isolation does strange things to people. Nights grew longer, colder. One night, while gathering driftwood, I found her sitting near the shore, staring at the stars. She looked smaller somehow, vulnerable, as if the strength she always carried had finally cracked. He sat beside her. She didn't look at me. Instead, she asked, "Do you believe people meet for a reason?" "I used to," I replied, "before everything went wrong." She turned her head slowly, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. Maybe everything went wrong, so something right could begin. I didn't know what to say. Words suddenly felt like stones, heavy, useless. She reached out and placed her hand over mine. It wasn't romantic, it was human. Warmth against coldness. A heartbeat against silence. A month had passed. We had mapped half the island and discovered a small waterfall. Inland. Clean, fresh water. That became our sanctuary. But it was also where everything changed that evening. I found Alina crying. Not the kind of tears you hide, the kind that rip through your chest when no one's supposed to see. She was clutching a small silver locket, one she never took off. Inside was a photo of a little girl. "My sister," she said, voice shaking. "She was supposed to join me next year. I promised her I'd come back. I had no words, only silence and guilt. because I too had someone waiting, my mother, alone. And every sunset we watched felt like betrayal that night. For the first time, I prayed, not for rescue, but for strength, hers and mine. It was around midnight when we saw it, smoke in the distance. For a moment, hope exploded in our chests. Maybe a ship, maybe people. We ran through the woods, barefoot, hearts racing, only to find it wasn't a ship. It was a fire from lightning. The forest was burning, the smoke surrounded us, choking, blinding. We ran hand in hand, stumbling over roots and stones. At one point I lost her. I screamed her name, but the forest devoured my voice. When I finally found her, she was trapped under a fallen branch, her ankle twisted, flames closing in. Lifted the branch, threw her over my shoulder and ran. The world turned red, hot, and endless. When we finally reached the shore, I collapsed, gasping. She was trembling in my arms. Alive that night, she looked at me differently. Not as an engineer, not as a survivor, but as a man who stayed. The next morning was quiet. The smoke was gone. The island looked smaller somehow, weaker. Maybe we were too. She was limping, her ankle swollen, so I carried her to the waterfall. She didn't protest her. Under the falling water, something changed between us. She watched me for a long time before finally whispering, "I don't know how long we'll last here, Ayan, but I know one thing. I'm done pretending." "Pretending what?" I asked. "That I'm only strong, that I don't feel scared, lonely, or human." She took a deep breath, stepped closer, and said the words I'd never forget. "I'm just a woman, and you're what I want." Her voice trembled, but her eyes, they didn't. They held truth, raw, unfiltered truth. I didn't reply, couldn't. I just held her. Not because I wanted to claim her, but because for the first time I understood her. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were living because we had each other. Weeks later, we spotted something, a faint silhouette on the horizon, a rescue ship. Our smoke signals had worked. She looked at me, eyes filled with tears. "It's time," she whispered. But something inside me broke. Because the island had become a part of us. The pain, the silence, the love, all of it had shaped who we were now. We packed what little we had, but before leaving, she carved something into a tree trunk. Where fear ends, love begins. As the ship approached, she turned to me one last time. "Do you think we'll still be us out there?" I smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but we'll remember who we became in here." When we returned, everything felt wrong. Civilization was loud, fast, and cold. People spoke but never listened. I tried to go back to my job. She resumed her research. But the sea between us, the island, never left our minds. One day I received a letter. It was from her. No phone call, no message, just a letter that smelled faintly of salt. It said, "Ayan, if the island taught me anything, it's that love isn't found in comfort. It's found in survival. You gave me life when I had lost all hope. If we ever find ourselves lost again, promise me you'll look for me where the waves end." I never saw her again. But sometimes, when I stand near the ocean, I swear I hear her voice, whispering through the wind, "I'm just a woman, and you're what I want," before we reach the final message. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Every story we share here is a journey of emotion, hope, and the unseen beauty of humanity. Your support helps us keep spreading kindness through stories that heal. Some people come into our lives like storms, destructive yet purifying. Elena was my storm. She tore apart everything I thought I knew about control, strength, and love. But in the ruins, she planted something unbreakable. Humanity, we weren't just two survivors trapped on an island. We were two souls learning that sometimes the greatest rescue is the one you find inside yourself. Because when everything is gone, the ships, the plans, the world, love remains, and sometimes that's enough.